welcome to Nourish the Soul Talk Radio show and podcast. Are you ready to awaken to true well-being and unlock a deeper understanding of yourself? Truly, it is time to feel good in your body and shift out of the struggle and into ease when it comes to your well being. So, I invite you, listeners, tonight to relax and enjoy. Let's go on an extraordinary journey of self discovery because Nourish the Soul Talk Radio Show and podcast is here to awaken you to the sacred wisdom of your body. I'm Elizabeth Tripp, your host, and today we're going to talk about a very important and powerful subject. Can our mindset make us sick? Well, before we dive into this subject, let's take a moment to get present. And I tell you this each episode that we do these live solo talks with just me. Getting present, being present, means we are operating from our heart, the truth of ourselves, the true nature of who we are, these omnipresent creative beings here in these bodies, these sacred temples, come to this life experience, right? We call journey of earth to learn and grow. We can really step into the power of the present. So let's put a hand on our chest. And I'm going to talk to you just a little bit before we do a deep breathing, how to come into this breath. So, what you're going to do is you're going to begin to breathe in through your nose to the count of 4. And as you exhale out to the count of 4 or longer, if it feels right, you're going to make just a nice sighing sound. So, we'll do it once together. And then as you drop in after our one round, you're going to do that at your own cadence, your own rhythm, while you listen to my voice. So let's start together. Breathing in, count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Letting it all go, sighing it out. 3, 4. Good job. Continue that breath as you drop into your heart and affirm this to yourself. I am now connected to the light of my heart. And this light within me is now in the driver's seat of my experience. I am ready to see what I need to see. I'm ready to let go of what I need to let go of. And I am ready to integrate what is necessary for me to walk on the path of my highest good right now. And I want to read a beautiful quote by Lao Tzu. Simplicity, patience, compassion. These 3 are your greatest treasures. Simple in action and thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in this world. So feel free to just open your eyes, returning from that deep connection to your heart center, the light within yourself that all of us have. Everybody has a beautiful light within themselves. It's just a matter of believing you do, deciding you do, and getting in touch with it. So we want to dive into tonight's subject. What is mindset? Let's start with that because tonight's radio show is about, can our mindset make us sick? So let's get really present to in exploring, what does the word mindset really mean? So I did a lot of research before I did this radio show tonight, this podcast, because it's just a really powerful topic. And the kind of journey we're going to go on tonight is really going to bring probably a lot up for a lot of us. And there's going to be points within the show where there may be, just differences in opinion, and that's okay. So we want to understand our mindset and where it comes from. So when I did some research, I looked at a couple of different definitions out there, and something that I really felt resonated was, one, it's an established set of attitudes held by someone. I also came across this definition: a set of beliefs that shape how you make sense of the world and yourself. And I think both of these are really great in understanding mindset. So they can really help us get a firm grip and understanding of what a mindset is. So the next question I wanted to kind of bring to the table with everyone is, where does our mindset come from? And through the work that I do, as a transformational coach, as a spiritual teacher and a mentor for those on their journey of life, I've come to understand that a mindset is really, like the definition I shared above, a true collection of our beliefs, our attitudes, our perceptions, the opinions that we hold of ourselves and our world. They create our mindset, and they can be influenced by many factors. So what I've seen is the biggest influencer, or influencers, are really our environment. And that pertains to, our home life, whether that be where we were brought up, our upbringing, um, the kind of, values that we have within our family dynamics, and then within our social and cultural environment. So what do socially and culturally we as a society hold to an importance, or feel there is a value of, or, deem as measures of good and bad, or right and wrong, as well as past experiences, especially past traumas. I have observed and watched, out of all of the sessions that I've done, hundreds of sessions with people, in, really getting to the bottom of and the root cause of their, physical aches and pains and the things that are paining them in life. I have found that our mindset has been very much influenced by our past traumas, by the past experiences that we've gone through that have changed us, that have really changed the way we perceive ourselves in a negative way. And a better way to even say that is an opinion we hold of ourselves that really separates us from the truth of our heart, which, as we move through these episodes, you're really starting to get a clearer and clearer understanding of. So that's where our mindset comes from. And bottom line for tonight's podcast and today's show is that, you know, how we perceive ourselves in our world, it is our mindset. Our perception is everything. And listen, there is no right or wrong way of viewing something according to our heart. And that's the perception I come from. But what there is a 100 million or infinite million, billion, gazillion ways of understanding something. So perception is unique, and there can be so many different ways of viewing something that, we could similarly say, okay, yes, I agree, I see it this way. But because we have had different upbringings with different parents, perhaps we've lived culturally in the same country, or, we have socially and culturally the same values around life, or the way we view and understand certain things, you'll still find differences in the way that we may perceive something. And that is true across the board among all individuals, because no one individual has brought up by the same parents or had the same exact life experience while they have, gone from childhood to adulthood. So that makes perception really unique, and something to really highly consider when we talk about, can our mindset make us sick, right? And how our past really influences our perception, and how our cultural and social environment are heavily influencing that as well. Because it's really multifactorial. So it's a pretty interesting subject. Um, so what I really want to hone in on before we start to talk about, as we go deeper into mindset and getting into the subject of what is a victim mindset and what is an empowered mindset, I really want to address that when we go through, past experiences, because that's a part of what shapes our mindset, and they're traumatic, and they make an imprint on us, mentally and emotionally. Um, that often this is where we start to develop a mindset where we can feel like a victim rather than feeling empowered by life or empowered within ourselves, that life is happening for us and through us, right? Because that's a bigger and more expanded mindset, right? And when we look at mindset and where it comes from and what it means, a lot of us, in fact, all of us, have been through different types of traumatic events, whether that be collective, right? Mostly everybody has been through 9/11. And if you're, at the age of, let's say, um, at least you were 8 or 9 or 6 or 7 and remember that event in 2001. And so that's a collective trauma, right? That has possibly left some sort of emotional imprint or mental imprint on you, right? And we don't process these things. And we don't, actually give ourselves the space to see how they may have affected us, right? They can cause us to create opinions about ourselves and the world that really speaks to a limited perception of ourselves and reality. And we're going to get to know, what that kind of mindset is, and explore it and how it affects us on a mental and physical level, really how it impacts our well-being. Because even our childhood traumas, in speaking of more of a personalized perspective, have a huge, huge impact on the way in which we understand ourselves. And just to give, an example, right? We go through something where maybe as a kid we get spanked by a parent, and in that we feel afraid and scared, and now we make the opinion, right, that I'm not safe in my home, I'm afraid of my parent or my mom or dad, right? We now feel slighted and even perhaps more helpless than we did before that event happened, which can change our whole reality and how we see and understand our world thereafter. So, whether it feels small or big to you, that example in terms of the way it could leave a traumatic impact on us, it for some can create a perception of life that totally, changes their whole paradigm moving forward. So, we're going to take a quick break and dive even further into this after we get back.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on TalkRadio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on TalkRadio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on TalkRadio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on TalkRadio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Are you ready to awaken to true well-being and unlock a deeper understanding of yourself? Well, through engaging with you listeners and transformative storytelling and interviews with thought leaders and way showers around the world, I invite you to go on the experience that occurs when you get present to your body, the well-being that starts to emulate from you when you slow down and come out of your head and into your heart. Because did you know that your body is designed on a soul level to help you remember who you really are? Welcome back. We are talking about, can your mindset make you sick? Because I know that a lot of us, right, can often struggle with, you know, aches and pains and dis-ease and illnesses that come and go or continue to kind of drag on. And it can feel pretty rough and tough sometimes, or even just as we age, staying in good health can be one of those things that really starts to, weigh heavily on us. And I want to empower you all to take back the authority you have over your body, over your health, over your well-being. And really, our mindset, the perception we hold about ourselves and reality, is the key. And we're learning that our mindset actually is a collection of, our upbringing, our past traumas, the things, the incidents that we've been through that have caused us maybe pain or hurt, as well as the social and cultural norms and environment we're used to, right? They all influence our perception, how we see ourselves. And before we switched, we were talking about, just some examples like, hey, we get spanked as a kid, and that moment can change us for the rest of our lives. Because from a happy-go-lucky child to all of a sudden feeling like, I'm not safe, that, I've done something wrong or bad, and I have to be on the defense or, be on eggshells, our whole life changes, right? And when we live through that view, we can start to accumulate different opinions that create our perception, that limit our power, that actually help us feel more helpless and, more terrified or scared. And then that can create a whole new set of emotions like anger and resentment and fury or rage. So these things all stack up on each other. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that tonight as we start to get into, the difference between a victim mindset, an empowered mindset, and how they influence our health. Because the story we tell, it comes alive in our body. It does. And we're going to learn a lot more about that as we travel through the Nourish the Soul podcast. But what is a victim mindset? Because it is something that we as a culture and as a society are actually very used to. Just giving you an example, if we look at our political environment right now, we have two political parties really on live television during these debates that are quite literally pointing fingers at each other, name calling and blaming and making the others wrong for things that perhaps in a system are just broken that we need to get more present to, versus not taking that responsibility and essentially saying, well, because you didn't do this, or you said you would and didn't, and this isn't working for us, right? Policies and laws. Yes, I get it. That's the truth of it. But what if it's just something that is fundamentally breaking down, that if indeed we took more responsibility of and for, we could actually make bigger change in. But that would mean our mindset would have to change, our perception would have to change, and we would have to change how we understand each other and politics and our world. So, can that happen? I hope so. I hope so. Because what is a victim mindset, right? Um, Truly, it's when we feel like we don't have any control over our life and we make others, the reason for our frustration and our anger. If you just get present to that, right? We can think about a time possibly within our own life where we have done that, right? It's not really about looking out and thinking about others, but it's getting self-aware and present to ourselves. Where have we played the victim, right? And made another person responsible for how we feel, right? Um, I am completely, definitely guilty of that, and guilty in the most positive way. Because without a victim mindset, I would have never have gone on the journey of empowering myself, of changing my life. So there was a necessary need for that kind of perspective that I held, but it became outdated at a certain point. Because a victim mindset, generally, when we're holding this kind of point of view where, we don't have the control, the circumstances control us, it's others versus us that are creating or causing our problems, right? They're slighting us, or making us wrong. We tend not to take responsibility, and we often think or say, these things are out of my control. If only they changed, right? Or if this were different, right, then things would get better, right? So when we're in this mindset, we often feel like no matter what we do, right, we can really very rarely improve unless it's if the circumstance itself changes or if someone else changes, right? Versus being responsible for ourselves. And so, an example of that is, I can't succeed. My boss is always against me, right? And or we could say, nothing I do will ever change this situation. We can think about that and say to ourselves, how often have we ourselves even thought that way? And it's very easy to do, because if we grow up in a home environment where our parents have socially and culturally also been used to, a kind of way of life where it is somebody else's fault, or it is somebody else's responsibility for, the way things should be versus your own, or that you're always to blame, or that everybody else is out to get them. As a kid, you're going to start to kind of sponge this kind of talk and dialogue. My mentor many years ago said to me, every thought we have in our mind has been planted there like a seed. So every thought we have has been planted within us from somebody else. And whoa, when I heard that, I was really blown away, and it made me think a lot. So our upbringing has a huge impact on this, this victimization that we can carry, and our cultural and social environments, because who's ever been exposed to, or been in a partnership where we kind of put the blame on our partner for how we feel and the way things are going in the household or the relationship. And we say, you're making me feel this way, or you're the cause of why I'm so angry and upset, or because you did this, it makes me now feel like I'm not heard or important or nobody cares, right? And these are things that I've seen definitely in my practice happen between partners or even between parents and children. You know, I'm not going to go to this place, insert wherever, because my kids never behave or they always act up. They ruin it for me, or I'll never lose weight because my, family's always sabotaging me. I've heard this from clients before, and it's a way of really placing the responsibility on somebody else to be a certain way, in order for us to feel like we can achieve or have our result, right? And it's a way of actually saying to ourselves, we don't really have any power, that everything in life circumstantially is more powerful than we are. So there's no will for us to really believe that anything could be different. And that is a telltale sign of a victim mindset. Um, a victim mindset too also anticipates negative outcomes, right? So they may say things like, why bother? It never works out anyways. Or, the market's only going to get worse. So what's the point of investing? I'm going to lose all my money. So the future hasn't occurred, but they've already projected out in this mindset that it's not going to work out, that it's going to be sort of this doom and gloom. And so as we get present to this, we're starting to really hear the fundamentals that make up this mindset. People in this mindset, and trust me, I've been there, they often complain without solution. They just ruminate. And they say, this is wrong, this is bad, it's because of this person and that, and, all of these, existential things that are happening, but there's no real drive to maybe make a change. Like, you could suggest a therapist, you could suggest meditation, you could suggest, going for walks, and they'll often find reasons why they can't accomplish this. And they really believe that others have it easier than them. And they may say, well, they succeed at their, weight loss or their business or that in their partnership because they haven't faced the same challenges as me. And so there's this focus on others having it better than themselves. And trust me, I've thought that way too. But there's also, when you're hearing a victim mindset, a clear dwelling on the past, experiences where people wronged them or, they were slighted, and that really stops them from moving forward. And you can hear it in like, I can't trust anyone because of what's happened to me before, or it's impossible for me to let go or move on because it's never worked out in the past, or it was too difficult. So I'm giving you the language, and we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to start talking about how this all affects our health and our well-being.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on TalkRadio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on TalkRadio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on TalkRadio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on TalkRadio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back. Did you know the answers to our greatest struggles are in plain sight? They are right here within our bodies, the greatest technology we've ever been given. And I truly believe when we get present to our body and we drop into our heart, we can find the solution to anything. So tonight we're talking about, can our mindset make us sick? And the truth is, yes, in my opinion, right? In the way that I perceive life and how I think about life. Because I believe that the way we understand ourselves and our world, it has a huge impact on our physical body because our temple experiences everything. Our bodies go through every stage of our life from baby to toddler to preschool to elementary, beyond high school. You can follow the trajectory there, but it goes through everything and it hears everything we think and say. And we've been talking about, the signs of a victim mindset and, being really authentic with you. I've definitely been one of these people. And still today in my present life, I actively am, aware of my word choices, of the dialogue I'm having with people, of the way in which I may want to misplace my emotional, swings or the ways in which my emotions can arise from me on somebody else, like my partner or my friends or my family. And I have to do what I call like a self check from my heart and say, Elizabeth, what's really going on here? What's the deeper why to the way that you're feeling? And what is it that you're telling? What's the story that you have that's creating this? Because it comes alive within our body. And so let me tell you a little bit more about this, right? Because we're starting to really become now conscious of the victim mindset language, right? Because when we're in that kind of language, like, oh, if they had just, told me what to do, I wouldn't be in this situation, right? Things wouldn't be that awful. If somebody had just, given me what I needed, I wouldn't be, out of luck right now and not able to do it and is necessary, right? So I'm just giving you broad examples of the way that it sounds. But basically, what we're starting to see is like, when we talk this way, we have no power. And we're saying we don't have any control over our life, right? If people just listen to me, then they would actually see that my advice is valid and they would then avoid all this heartbreak. But because they don't, I then have to hear all their complaining. That's another victim kind of mindset opinion there, right? Because what we're saying is like, life isn't happening, for me, it's happening to me, and certainly not through me, meaning that our words aren't our wand, right? Or our thoughts aren't things. So without that as a foundation or a way in which we can perceive life, we can feel helpless and scared and then angry, right? So this can really, really cause quite a bit of anger and upset and anxiety, and that can really cascade quite a bit of physical things. So how does a victim mindset impact our health and well-being, on a deeper level? Well, one thing is that I'm speaking about is all this anxiety, all of this anger, all of this frustration that induces what is called chronic stress, right? And chronic stress, if you're not aware of this, has a ripple effect on our mental and physical well-being. So I'm going to tell you the 6 ways in which that a victim mindset can really affect us physically. When we see ourselves as a victim and we experience this chronic stress, this, which is induced by chronic anxiety, worry, resentment, right? Nobody's listening. Nobody cares. I'm not important. I can't do this. It won't work out. It's not possible. These are victim mindset type language. This keeps our body in a heightened state of stress response, right? And when we're always in a constant stress response, um, that over time can really weaken our immune system. That's our primary defense to, foreign, viruses and bacteria. And that makes us way more susceptible to infection, to illness, and developing chronic conditions. So that's the first way that we can link our mindset to, right, the way in which it actually affects our body. Another way is that ongoing stress from a victim mindset can physically manifest as, tension in the body, really tight or tense shoulders, a lot of, maybe tight or tense upper or lower back, or, really tense neck. Um, Even today, when I was tuning into my body and feeling more tenseness in my neck and shoulders, I came from a perspective that I will offer you tonight as we continue this from my heart, a non-judgmental place, and simply said, what body are you trying to tell me? And it just kind of rose up to just let go and enjoy life more, to just let yourself have more fun and enjoy. And I could feel just opening up and realizing that, and recognizing that sometimes we can take things a little more seriously than they need to, and that tension can build up there from that stress. I could start to just let that go. But ongoing stress, if not addressed in a simple way just like that, can lead to fatigue and even digestive issues, or what can develop then into chronic pain, right? Everybody take a second and just get present with themselves. Do you have any of these symptoms happening? Any tension, any fatigue, any digestive issues, any pains that have been chronic and not alleviating? Well, they can stem from a opinion that we're holding of ourselves that is really limiting and really not of the truth of who we are, and can put us in a mental or emotional state that makes us feel more helpless, as though we're out of control and have no power. And our body is really just trying to tell us this. And that can be difficult if we're in a victim mindset, because victim mindsets often lead to that hopelessness if left unchecked. Feelings of depression, of, developing into more bigger health disorders that, maybe that person then only feels like a medication would be something that would support them. So that can then even slow down or snowball into dependency, and finding even more of that joy or satisfaction in life on their own, right? Victim mindsets too can physically disturb our sleep cycles. And let me tell you, sleep is so important. So, so, so important. So if we have constant negative thoughts and we're always in a negative mindset, it can really first keep us up at night, right? Keep us kind of whirling and twirling and not being able to really settle in and allow for a deeper, fuller, more relaxation. And lack of sleep can really again affect our immunity, which is our primary line of defense, against all of the different kinds of bacteria or viruses in our world, different things, foreign things that can come into the body. And if this perpetuates, right, it can have a major impact on our health, right? As well as when we're in these mindsets where people are out to get us, they're slighting us, it's their fault, right? It's not me, it's them. How could it be me? They're not taking responsibility, they're not listening, they're the ones not making the change, right? This leads to very unhealthy coping mechanisms because we're putting, all of our, sort of weight on somebody else having to change in order for us to feel okay, in order for us to feel happy, in order for us to feel content, right? And we can even see we can do that onto our bodies, right? If our body was a certain way, if I could only lose the weight, which isn't possible because I always mess up, just giving more examples here, right? This can really lead to things like wanting to check out from all this heaviness, right? Just wanting to maybe cope by overeating or drinking, or maybe even getting, kind of sucked into, video games, or just binging on the television or scrolling on your phone, right? These things can really take us out of presence of our emotional and mental states of being and leave things unprocessed. And unprocessed mental and emotional, stories, right, actually are the cause of our dis-ease. It's the way that our bodies then start to say, hey, I'm really fed up with this mindset you're having about yourself in your life. And in fact, there's something more you need to see here about yourself that needs to change, that needs to transform. So it's a significant wake up. But what a negative mindset or victim mindset does is it can often impair healing. Even, if there is a motivation to heal and we've come out of that constant complaining, right? The way that the negative, mindset is been set up actually slows down the body's ability to heal. And it really, makes it a lot slower to recover, and more difficult. So it just piles on. And that's not really what I want for all of you. And certainly why I feel like this subject is so, so, so powerful, because it is really common in our world to, you know, feel like, other people are at the fault for how we are feeling, or that, our cultural circumstances right now are, have more power and influence over our, ability to be able to make money or have a healthy relationship, or, be able to have a healthy and happy family. Those can really create, if we believe them, a lot of stress on our families. And so we're going to talk, when we get back from this break, more about how to shift our mindset into an empowered one so that we can have better health. So let's take a quick break.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on TalkRadio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on TalkRadio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on TalkRadio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on TalkRadio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on TalkRadio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining me tonight. We're talking about, can our mindset make us sick? And we're starting to really explore the inner workings of, the perception we hold of ourselves and our world and how it affects our bodies, right? It can, disturb our immune system. It can create actual physical tension and pain in our body. It can often cause, digestive issues, as well as it can really affect our overall outlook and our ability to deal with challenges, right? And often when things come up or show up, it can feel like another thing that is just, weighing us or bringing us down or keeping us imprisoned in life or trapped, right? Those are all key, language for thinking about what a victim mindset is. And to be honest, I see a lot of people holding this paradigm for themselves. And I see them also suffering with a lot of, issues with their body physically, whether that's, weight issues, or it could be, pains in their shoulders, neck, or back, to, actual conditions that develop like heart disease or diabetes, or having been diagnosed with depression. Um, there's nothing wrong with these things, right? Because what if everything in our life, to include, the circumstances we're facing as a collective right now, our political environment, our economic environment, just the world in general, has been chosen by us, right? For us, for a greater purpose, for a positive reason, you know? What if everything, our parents that we grew up with, the home environments that we, lived in, the, upbringing that we went through, all the traumas. And I know I'm not minimizing the traumas that we can have as individuals, but what if we hired people to actually play a role in our life and experience these things that, yes, can absolutely cause us hurt and can absolutely create pain, for us, but what if they have a reason and a very powerful, reason, that if from a greater perspective, that light within our heart wants us to wake up and see something about ourselves, that without this experience, this trauma, this challenge, this painful event, these, this landscape of our world right now, we wouldn't see that they're actually such a necessary part of putting the puzzle together for us understanding who we truly are. Because if we are wanting to come from the heart in this conversation tonight and opening ourselves up to a non-judgmental space, a space where we don't conclude right or wrongs, where we don't say there's good or bad, where we just accept that this is what it is, that this has happened or this is happening. So rather it being somebody else's fault or they're to blame, what if we could invite a perspective within ourselves that says, okay, what is this truly for? What does this have to teach me? What is the lesson that I'm here to learn? What is it that I'm here to discover or understand about myself much deeper than I have, that could empower me to walk in more of an aligned truth of myself, right? Within the heart of myself, right? So that is a totally different mindset than a victim mindset, right? Everything happens for a positive purpose. Everything has been designed for us, by us, to learn and grow, right? That is a totally different mindset, that our thoughts and our feelings are what we have control over. That's a completely different mindset. And that if we think negatively, and if we have emotions that are, what we call quote unquote negative, that they're here actually to help us see what's on the other side of that is truly here for us to embody, right? That there's no wrong to any of it, that they're here actually to help us evolve in our own understanding of ourselves. That is a completely different mindset. That means everything has a right to exist. That means everything has a positive purpose. And that kind of mindset can transform anything, because when it comes to our health, there's a lot more peace, there's a lot more centeredness, there's a self responsibility, meaning that we are taking responsibility for our mindset, for our perception, and we're saying, rather it being somebody else's fault, it's actually the way in which we are interpreting them, their reaction or response, their choices they're making, right? In our own perspective. So that means that it always comes back to us, that we are the driver, that we are the one that is experiencing everything through us rather than things happening to us. So that takes a mental strength and willingness to open up to. But when we do, it completely transforms our well-being, because we now have a mindset or perception of life that empowers us to see that when we go through a challenge, that when we face a circumstance that is definitely difficult, because we're not denying these things won't happen and that they are, but that we now have a place to stand upon for ourselves that helps us be more elevated in the crowd of what is more normally accepted. And that way, then we aren't as affected, right? And that truly then allows for us to make more intentional decisions about the direction we want to go, how we want to lead our life, ultimately, how we want to take care of ourselves, right? Our families, where we want to put our focus. And all of these things combined allows for a more present and heart open you to be journeying in your life. Okay. And when the heart is operating, there can't be chronic illness and disease all the time. There can be ebbs and flows of things that come in, but with a heart that can look through itself with a willingness to see the deeper why, there can always be a solution. There can always be a knowing that we are on the path that is necessary for us to learn and grow. So the keys in this podcast tonight is that when you come from this empowered mindset, right, that it makes you stronger, it makes you more confident, especially with practice. In when things happening, you always say, okay, what is the deeper why to this? You can be in the driver's seat. Key 2, then there's always a solution. And key 3, that means that what you have control over then is yourself, how you think and how you feel, and what kind of perception that creates for yourself. It's nobody else's responsibility to do that for you but your own, right? And that's how we actually change our health. And that's how we start to shift the way that our body actually experiences our life. Because one thing will always stay constant, and that is there will always be challenge, there will always be difficulty, and there will always be things that will stretch the edges of ourselves. And they can be within our own physical health and well-being, and they can be outside in our circumstance. But we have the power to decide what has power over us. And we have the authority within ourselves through our ability to control our thoughts and our feelings, to direct our focus wherever we want. So that in itself actually is, in a nutshell, what my podcast tonight was all about. Can our mindset make us sick? If you listen to this from beginning to end, you'll know the answer is yes. And you'll actually get a path forward in how to embody a healthier and a more empowered mindset. So tune in next week. I actually have a very special guest I'm excited to announce, and I can't wait to see you all. So thank you so much. Namaste.